Well, it is good to know that we actually got some good news this week. Godzilla Minus One is getting a sequel. We've got a couple of Godzilla future sequel things to go over today, but the official Godzilla Toho Twitter page, or X page, has, it's been out for a while, but has said there's gonna be another Godzilla Minus One. Well, a sequel to Godzilla Minus One. And yeah, I don't really know how else about it other than I'm happy that it's getting a sequel. And he also made a follow-up comment, specifically saying, "Oh, something on my neck." Yeah. A lot of people did assume that Godzilla Minus One was going to be getting a sequel, particularly involving the both regenerating of Godzilla underneath the water, as well as the scar G-cells creeping along Noriko's neck at the end of the movie. Was I surprised by this? No. And it also actually meshes well into something that Toho has actually said themselves for a good several years. They don't want just one singular iteration of Godzilla to be running at any one given time. I believe the term they use is like Godzilla World, where they've got all these different iterations, all these different series of Godzilla just roving around as their own separate incarnations. We've got Monsterverse, we've got the Minus Verse. I don't know what to call the Minus One series yet, but this one is also going to be made by Takashi Yamazaki, aka the absolute Giga Chad that made the first one. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be in some pretty good hands. Also, on the other end of things, with the Monsterverse side of things, we've got, well, one, we know that Monarch Legacy of Monsters is going to be getting a second season. We've known that for a while. I haven't seen the first one yet. We'll be covering that at some point. But also a little bit more explanation about the Godzilla versus Kong, well, Godzilla X Kong sequel, because in the main channel, the gaming channel, Maxis, possibly going to be rebranding that soon. There's been a lot of discussion that people coming to ask me about the next Godzilla movie for the Monsterverse, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, did you see that trailer for like 2026?" And I was like, "No, because it's not real." The next Godzilla the next Monsterverse Godzilla movie is going to be 2027. They have already said it's going to be in March of 2027, so it is going to be a while. I will say this, and I will continue to say it. I think the timetable between Monsterverse movies is a bit too long. I think it really should be shortened to maybe once every 2 years, maybe every 18 months. You know, maybe go to 2 years if you're doing like a mini series of something, like on one of those streaming services. But I think that we do need, especially on the Monsterverse side, we need more Godzilla movies in that thing. Again, this does run kind of the risk. And let me know your thoughts below on this. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more if you guys haven't done so already. But the issue with kind of having more and more Monsterverse movies, well, the movies set in the Monsterverse, it kind of runs the same risk that the MCU had. And I mean, the MCU's had a lot of problems. But early on, like, it actually did pretty well. You know, they could release a lot of, I mean, obviously not the same degree of, you know, like 7 movies in a year. Obviously not that. But, like, you know, a movie a year, you know, maybe 1 or 2, but focusing on the different monsters. Like, I would love to see Godzilla and Kong as separate movies. I do really love when they tag team to fight things, but it also, I really don't want every future Godzilla movie in the Monsterverse to just have Godzilla and Kong in there together. Kong kind of does steal the spotlight from Godzilla, and I want Godzilla to be the center point of his own movie. I'd like to see, you know, a separate Mothra movie. I'd love to see a separate Rodan movie. Just, I would like to see more from the Monsterverse dealing with the other monsters to have their own stories, and not just every Monsterverse movie is gonna be a tag team. Let me know your thoughts below. I know a lot of people say that, like, they're really hoping for Destroya to be in the next Monsterverse movie. I'm hoping we don't get Destroya. I've said this many times. I don't think he quite fits with the Monsterverse, and it not only it doesn't take away from the original Godzilla vs. Destroya, but I feel just the way the Oxygen Destroyer was presented does not mesh well with the classical version of Destroya. So, I don't think it would be good. Ideally, I know a lot of people in Space Godzilla, I don't think Space Godzilla is coming in. What I'd really like to see is, I would like to see an exploration of what happened to the Godzilla superspecies. You know, we've only seen, you know, less than, 5% of the inner Earth. There could be some other crazy stuff down there. Who knows? I'm looking forward to it. And really closing out, and this is again sort of another like slight, I mean, I guess it's like a slight disappointment in the Monsterverse, is the Godzilla, well, the Monsterverse game, Kong Survivor Instinct, where We got a new Titan, Abaddon. It's gonna be having Kong on. It's gonna be on like Skull Island, and it's basically a survival game of dad looking for his daughter on the island. And I mean, it's an interesting idea. I would have preferred a movie focusing on the Titans themselves, the Kaiju. You know, I think it's a bit too early for us to think, oh yeah, we're gonna get a giant like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate style game of monster fighting game, which I'd love that. Like, I would pay all of the money for a MonsterVerse Kaiju fighting game. You have no idea. Love Godzilla Unleashed. My biggest regret in selling the Wii is I couldn't play that for stream. And unfortunately, since the Xbox flatlined, I can't play Godzilla Save the Earth. But yeah, I'd love just a classic Kaiju Brawl game. I hope the MonsterVerse does it. Like, I kind of hope, actually for some of the same reason, I actually hope that Transformers 1 did well to show people would like to see more of these, is I hope that a MonsterVerse game, even if it isn't like the kind of game, I'm not a big survival horror person, but I would like to see, you know, a MonsterVerse game that focuses a bit on the monsters to do well, to show there are people who are interested in playing games set in the MonsterVerse who want to see more things focusing on the Kaiju in the MonsterVerse, and we get more movies. Like, I would love a survival horror in the Inner Earth. That sounds pretty cool. Because I've said before and I'll say it again. My basically like ideal version for MonsterVerse stuff is I would watch a National Geographic style series just going over all the weird like smaller sub-Titan creatures in the Inner Earth, like the stuff like Doug, like that kind of scale things. Not the super big Titans, but like, I mean, I guess you can't. I mean, you know, the macrofauna, I guess is the right term, because, well, gigafauna. Yeah, megafauna. Well, gigafauna is the term in my Kaiju stories that I use for them, so there's that. But yeah, I think I might have mentioned before, I do write my own monster stories, sort of working on them. Gigafauna is the term for the Kaiju. I guess I could use the term gigafauna for this as well, because like, it is kind of topical. But yeah, I'd love to see just stuff like that. I mean, maybe even make like what a Jurassic World Evolution style thing. We gotta get little pens to hold them. I mean, like, I'd like to see more stuff in games for the MonsterVerse. I kind of hope this does well for that reason. Now, again, all of that does need to be kind of said in the same breath as I hope they stop with the retcons. You know, that is easily the biggest issue I have with the MonsterVerse, is all of the constant retcons, and we will be going into a video on specifically those, because I do think overall the retcons will be the demise of the MonsterVerse if they keep going with them. We're already in a very worrying spot with them somewhat trying to retcon Godzilla didn't beat Ghidorah back in, you know, ancient times when Ghidorah was frozen, saying that was Shimo. So that's really just the novelization at the moment, which is not canon, but there is always the potential they could add that into the movie, because a lot of the time the novelization carries elements of early drafts, and you don't know what else they've already planned that takes that into account. So, let's not on a bit of a doomer note. Let's go back to a more positive thing. Godzilla's 70th birthday went off absolutely spectacularly. I want to thank all you guys who checked out the previous video we did on this. I really didn't think it would be as well as it did, and it did extremely well. Thank you guys. Next week, I will be doing the Attack on Titan Season 2 video. Apologies with all of the delays involving that. There's been just rapid fire, a whole lot of stuff going on for various projects where, you know, stuff has to get rescheduled and pushed off, and I really want to get back to working on the Attack on Titan stuff. I really do. We will be getting back to that. That will be next week. Barring they announce, like, a new MonsterVerse thing, or a whole new Godzilla series, the next video will be dealing with Attack on Titan Season 2. I promise you that. For those who don't know, I saw Attack on Titan for the first time blind earlier this year, actually about half a year ago at this point. The video footage was recorded as I was watching, so that stuff was recorded, I don't even know how many months ago. So you kind of get to see me working through the series blind and the gears turning as they go. Once again, thank you guys all for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe for more, leave a like on the video, and I will see you guys next time. Long live the Kaiju King. We've got a lot more projects planned in the works. I just need to actually plan them out and schedule them correctly.